Oh guys, we've been roughing it in this house. There's just a lot to do around Christmas, but also we always get sick. So thankfully this year we had the stomach bug before Christmas and we're getting over it now. So hopefully we can be all golden by the time Christmas comes. This will probably come out after Christmas, but anyway, some things are changing around here, things on the channel and in our family, and so I wanted to update you guys. Also, haven't really updated you on baby number 3, which we're already pretty far along on. So thought I could update you guys on that, some complications that we're dealing with, things that are heavy on my heart. And this is definitely the earliest I've ever filmed. So I feel so puffy and like I am not really woken up yet. But we're gonna get through this. So I wrote down a few little things that I want to talk about with you guys so that I don't ramble and that this isn't a nightmare to edit. Because mama needs a break from editing. So first off, I'm sure you guys have noticed, but if you haven't, I am really trying intentionally to center this channel more around Christ. When I started this channel, felt very called to just share my creativity, do something fun while I was on maternity leave, which then turned into full-time staying at home. Not because of this channel. Oh my gosh, this channel didn't at that time make any money. But I spoke with a lot of friends around that time and just was like annoyed at myself for just feeling like I'm just talking about myself all the time on here. It's just all about me. And they were so encouraging, saying that no, it's not. It's not about just you. But I like couldn't quite grasp at how it wasn't. But lately, I think that I have put this into perspective more. And for me, that just means sharing my faith more, being more vulnerable with you guys. Specific ways, though, to do it. Because I don't want it to ever come off. I think it can come off incorrectly. Like pushy or something. And I just want it to come off real life. I'm not perfect at all. Oh my goodness. But this leads into kind of my like rebranding idea. So rebranding, yes, but not really, because the way that I started this channel, like my little phrase was thrifting, DIY, and homemaking. For me, homemaking is faith. Like that is together. They cannot be separated because it's this wholesome act of creating a home for my family that is Christ-centered. So I just think that I don't really need to rebrand and make it like in Christian homemaking because it just intrinsically is. But with that said, I am going to be trying to branch out from my thrifting and room makeover videos exclusively and adding more homemaking into that so that you can see that like intentional effort that I make in our house. And I hope that you've seen that a little bit in my like recent, maybe over the past like 2 months or so, I've been trying to make it much more intentional, adding like a little thing at the end, some like a little quote or just something very like simple that maybe you can take with you and hold on to like throughout the week. So that's my intent with it. Not every week probably will like speak to your heart and your needs, but I hope that it can touch someone, and if it can, then that's great. That makes this all like worth it, even when like the check that I get from videos is not like a ton. Like it's not. I will talk about that a little bit because it's blown my mind in the past like month or so, but that's like bullet point number 5, so I can't skip ahead or I'll forget. So I wrote down followers leaving. Yes, I've had a lot of followers leaving, but I have had more followers gaining since I have like incorporated my faith more into this channel. So thank you. If you are new recently, I'm so glad. I'm so glad you're here. If you look back at my like really old videos, I hope that you see growth from them. Like I'm not going to delete them. Maybe I will eventually because some of them are pretty embarrassing, but I think that there's a lot of growth that I've made in like my videography and like music choices, and there's just a lot that goes into YouTube that I had no idea I would become so like in tune with through this channel. And it is truly an art that I see it as now, and it's really beautiful, something to perfect. So I did ballet growing up, like pretty competitively, not competitively, but like I definitely took it very seriously. It was competitive to me. And so I did it all the way through college. I minored in dance at the University of Florida, but I wasn't like performing in college. I was only performing up until like 12th grade. But during that time, nobody really like understood. Like they don't understand what a dancer does to prepare her body. Like I was constantly stretching while I was doing my homework and those sorts of things. And then they wouldn't understand, like, so what do you do when you go to practice? It's like, do you just do the same moves over and over again? Well, kind of, but like you're constantly improving and making little improvements. And I guess all this to say is like, when you're on the stage, you see some beautiful, easy looking thing, like it comes together so beautifully and all the dancers are like coordinated and stuff. But that took like months to get to that. And I kind of feel like that's the same way with YouTube. Is like, I'm far from perfect on YouTube. Let's get that on the table. But I think I've come a long way with like creating videos and making them look more aesthetic or whatever. But it takes a lot to get to that, like a lot of preparation to get to it. And I'm just starting to understand that it's probably just going to get harder and harder as my eye gets trained. So there's a lot of time that goes into YouTube videos. But I will say that last month, so in like November, so this is December. In November, I made on here income-wise more than I was making as a PRN physical therapist, which I went to school for 7 years, got a doctorate in so that I could do that. Now, I will say I'm working way more on this, but I don't really see it as work. Like I see it as a hobby that's an art form that's definitely not always something I want to set time aside to do, but I do love it. I see it as something that it's like the best job ever. So if I can figure out how to keep that ball like rolling, keep things moving, having those sponsorships. So thank you guys for supporting me in those sponsorships, just like clicking the link or whatever it is. I don't know how that works, but I think that those things really help. They definitely, brands offer you a lot of money compared to like what YouTube ads will give you. But even YouTube ads, I'm just like blown away by, because I just didn't know. I didn't know what these YouTubers were making. And then you look at what like really top level YouTubers are making and you're like, wow. So anyway, it's not about the money on this channel. My husband is the provider in our family, and I am the provider for our kids, their emotional and physical needs in this house. But it is definitely a blessing to have a little bonus, especially while he's getting through residency. Things are tight. So next bullet point I wrote down was a big goal for me for last year has been to be relatable as a mother. And so I struggle with this a lot because I don't do this in the time that it's actually, like, this is not real time. So I find it really easy to share relatably over on Instagram, but here, these are edited videos. By the time that I've gotten through the rough patch, like I edit it to make it look beautiful in the past, you know? But I'm not sure if that's making much sense. But I think I have been doing better sharing a little bit more relatability. I try to show all of my mistakes with DIY, and then show how, you know, we get through it. But with that, I find it very important that I'm not sharing too much about my kids. So you might see like the back of their heads or the front. I mean, but I don't want to be sharing like what they're actually saying as they get older. When they're little, I think it's fine because they're young. But when they get older, like that's their personhood, and you can't understand who they are just based off of a few little edited clips on YouTube. And I don't want anyone to feel like they know who my sons are. So that's why you don't really see them a whole lot. I would love to share more of them because they're the best. They're so cool. I'm not trying to like hide them on YouTube, but in a way I am, just to protect their privacy. So some content that you can expect from me in 2024. That sounds wild to say. You can expect maybe some more recipes, organization. What else did I put on here? Oh, baby updates, sit down talks, real life renovation, like a whole week in renovation so you could see what we actually do. We have a lot more projects planned. Actually, in this room that we are in right now. I'm going to leave that as a little cliffhanger for, let's see, it's happening at the end of January. Pretty exciting. It's going to happen fast. Anything that you guys would be interested in, you guys can let me know if there's something specifically you would like me to work on, show you, but we'll definitely do a lot more thrifting because I love thrifting. I'm never going to stop. It's just a way of life, right? So let me share a little update on baby number 3. So if you follow me on Instagram, you can find me at EEGarby if you are not. I shared recently that we are having another boy. We are super thrilled about this. I mean, not just for practicality's sake of like, oh wow, great, I don't have to like get a bunch of other stuff, but my boys have the best brotherhood ever. Like that is something that I'm just working so hard on making sure that they know that they are best friends. But honestly, they just like do it too. I mean, am I working that hard? They just love each other. They have a great bond. And I'm so grateful for that. And I cannot wait to bring another little baby boy into that so that they can have that close relationship. My eldest two. My boys are 2.5 years apart. We wanted them a little bit closer, but we actually had a harder time getting pregnant with Benji. And so then this baby will be like 2 years and 2 months apart from Benji, the middle child. So it'll be super fun watching them grow up together and just have their rough and tough emphasis on that love. I've definitely chosen a name that we absolutely love. Like, I've loved all of the names that we've chosen for the boys. They're all a little bit unique. Gideon, Benjamin, and then this one. But I'll probably be keeping that a secret to us and like the family that we get to tell and friends in person, because we just love telling people in person and explaining it. So you guys can look forward to finding out the name when he is born, and he is due in April. I don't never shared that before. So we're already at 6 months along, 24 weeks, which is crazy. You want to see a little bump update? So here's the bump. Can you see? Ooh, goodness. But feeling pretty large and in charge. Dominique's been calling me Casper because all I wear is white. I just love these white sweatpants. I got them at Target recently, and it's like all I'm wearing. And then all I wear is white shirts because they go with everything. So now I'm Casper. So this might be a little TMI for some people. I don't think it's that TMI though. I mean, once you've had a baby and then 2, you're like, nothing phases me. But my first baby was a C-section, and that was because he was upside down. He was just sitting there, a little cross-legged baby in there when we went in to get like induced far after my due dates because nothing was happening. But they did an ultrasound before doing that, and then realized, yeah, like there's no fluid in there, so they couldn't flip him or anything. So we had to do a C-section. It was a bit traumatic to me. It was a bit of a shock because I had been planning to try to go for an unmedicated birth and was just like so mentally prepared. I had like scripture on little note cards that I'd written, and I had like the aromatherapy and like all the nourishing snacks that I was supposed to bring, and like had done all the research on breathing and stuff. And who knows if I would have gone through with the natural labor without medication. I mean, goodness gracious, now that I know what it is after my second baby. But anyway, I had to have a C-section at that point, and recovery was rough. Like it was really, really mentally and physically challenging and painful. It could have been worse. I've had friends who have had like ruptures of their scar. This is probably getting TMI. I won't say anything more about that. Thankfully, things went really smoothly and I healed. It was fine. We were able to do a VBAC for my second baby. I like fought for that because I did not want to go with another C-section. It limits how many babies you can have to about like 4, I think is what they say. Not that we I don't know if we want any more than that. And it's just abdominal surgery. So it's a much more intensive process. And now that I know what vaginal birth looks like after having Benji, I just know how beautiful it is and then how comparatively quick the recovery is. it is not a quick recovery by any means. And the more I like realize how much you try to, push it, and see my friends like try to push it, it just sets you back. So on track to have another VBAC. However, there's been some complications that we've realized through my C-section. Things were noticed, some abnormalities in my uterus that make it more difficult for the baby to flip. So during my second pregnancy, I was really, really good about doing a lot of like yoga stretches. I even went to the chiropractor. I know that's like, any of my PT friends are like, you went to the chiropractor. Because there's a relationship, it's complicated. But I did a lot of things to help open up my hips and make things optimal for the baby to flip. And it worked. Who knows if it was my efforts or just the Lord blessed us with that. But that is something that we are strongly praying for. Again, that this baby can flip so we don't have to go through another C-section. It would be fine if we did. It would be fine. The Lord would provide for us. But it would be really nice to not have to do that. I know how difficult in like an endurance test labor is. I'm doing a lot of things to train myself like physically to do that. So I'm going to a lot more exercise classes than I did with baby number 2, just to get my cardiovascular strength up, and then doing a lot of breathing that is like for 2 minutes where you actually feel like you're gonna pass out if you breathe like this for that long. Whew, it was rough. But I hope that those things can help and at least help me be at peace, feel like I know that I'm doing something. That always helps me. It's just like, I'm doing what I can. Okay, before I share my favorite cookie recipe of all time, which is a little bit of a family secret, so you're in for a treat, I wanted to say thank you guys so much for watching this channel. Like, it's amazing how much it's grown and helped our family, so thank you guys so much. Share, I don't know if it's gonna be next week, but at some point, my word of the year for next year, and help you guys kind of think through that. That was something I did last year, and you guys absolutely loved that. So, and I loved hearing from yours. So if you could please remember to like this video, leave a comment down below, even if it's just like a heart emoji, that really helps the channel. All right, so let's make some cookies. So I was able to find the original source of this recipe. Yes, it calls for a lot of butter, but we are doubling it, so that's 6 sticks. But I linked the original recipe down below. I am actually making a few modifications to this one, pretty much just because I didn't have brown sugar. So a little hack is that you can use molasses. You just use 1 tablespoon of molasses for every cup of sugar, of plain white sugar, and that turns it into brown sugar, I guess. I don't know exactly if this is more cost efficient or anything, but I always forget to buy brown sugar, so it's a good hack to have on hand. Even without doubling this recipe, it ends up making a lot of cookies. So if you are like me and you want to make some for gifts, double it, but be warned that there are some things you'll have to kind of modify, and I'll show you how I get around that, specifically fitting it into your mixer. But you are going to use 3 cups of flour, and then to that add 1 tablespoon each of baking soda, baking powder, and cinnamon, and 1 teaspoon of salt. And then in your mixer, you're going to cream together the butter with 1.5 cup of plain white sugar and 1.5 cup of that brown sugar. This, you want it to get nice and creamy. I believe this type of dough is called a butter dough, just because of the high butter content, and it makes it the most chewy, delicious, soft on the inside and kind of crunchy on the outside cookie that I think is just perfect. To this butter and sugar, you're going to add 3 eggs, 1 at a time, beating those in, and then add 1.5 tablespoons of vanilla. So as you can see, we are getting lots of rich, yummy, cozy flavors in here. I think that I have the smaller KitchenAid mixer, so all of this in the double batch does not fit in this mixer. So what I do is just do the wet ingredients in the mixer, and then I do the dry ingredients separately, and then I by hand mix them together like so. And then there's a lot more ingredients that are going into this, some healthy ones, nutritious ones. I actually kind of swear by this recipe to help my milk come in once I'm postpartum. So I'll make another batch of these when we get close to baby arriving and throw them in the freezer because they freeze really, really well and even taste good while they're frozen, I think. I'm not sure if the original recipe calls for it, but I definitely recommend toasting the pecans a little bit. So you're going to do 2 cups of pecans that are chopped pretty finely. Now this is definitely where a lot of the volume comes in because you are adding 3 cups of old-fashioned rolled oats. This is the same volume amount as the flour, so these have a lot of good chewy texture, and I think that this is probably what I think maybe helps my milk come in because supposedly oats are supposed to be really good for that, and they're just wholesome and great for everyone. And then I did transfer this into 2 bowls because this is a lot more volume. You are going to add 2 cups of sweetened coconut as well as 3 cups of semi-sweet chocolate chips, but I left some of my dough without the chocolate chips so that I can give this to some family members who are sensitive to chocolate. But this will definitely be a good arm workout. If this doesn't fit into your mixer, I ended up transferring it into my mixer because it was killing my arms. About a month ago, I shared some cozy, budget-friendly meal ideas, and I will link that video down below, and let me know if you guys are enjoying seeing some of these recipes on here. This one is definitely not like budget friendly or like extremely healthy, but it's very wholesome and very cozy. Now the original recipe says to put them into the oven at 350 for 15 minutes. I tend to make mine just a little bit smaller, so I put them in for 14 minutes. You want to take them out when the centers still look a little bit gooey, and they will solidify once they're cooling and turn into this delicious chewy texture. So I hope that you all will give this recipe a try. Please let me know if you do, and I will see you in the next one. Have a very blessed week. Bye guys.